I wasn't supposed to hear the conversation. I was supposed to be at the office, buried in back-to-back meetings about the Henderson acquisition. But the client canceled last minute. Something about their CFO being hospitalized. So I came home at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, instead of my usual 7 p.m. My wife Victoria's car was in the driveway. So it was a silver Lexus I didn't recognize. I parked on the street and walked up quietly. The front door was unlocked. I could hear voices from the living room. Victoria's laugh, the one she used to use with me. And a man's voice, deep and confident. Worth at least $8 million, the man was saying. The business, the properties, the investments. When he goes, you're set for life. If he doesn't change the will, Victoria replied. He's been talking about updating it. Says he wants to create a foundation or something ridiculous. Then you need to make sure he doesn't. Play the devoted wife. Make him think everything's perfect. Keep your name as sole beneficiary. I've been married to him for 12 years. I've earned every penny. You've earned it with me, sweetheart. Not with him. How much longer do we have to wait? Robert's 56. Could be 20 more years. That's too long. I'm not spending 20 years sneaking around. What are you suggesting? I'm saying accidents happen. Men his age have heart attacks. Especially men under stress. Victoria laughed. You're terrible. I'm practical. Look, you're 42. You don't want to be 65 when you finally get to enjoy his money. We could be together now, living the life we deserve. I stood in the hallway, phone in my hand, recording every word. I'll think about it, Victoria said. But Robert's careful. He exercises, eats well, sees his doctor. He's boringly healthy. Stress kills. His business is demanding. Maybe it gets more demanding. Maybe he works longer hours, takes on more pressure. Maybe. I'd heard enough. I backed out quietly, got in my car, and drove to my attorney's office. James Morrison had been my lawyer for 20 years. Handled everything from my business formation to my real estate deals. James, I need to change my will immediately. Today if possible. He looked up from his desk. Robert, what's wrong? I just heard my wife and her boyfriend discussing how to make sure I don't change my will before I die. Possibly discussing how to accelerate my death. His expression went from concerned to alarmed. You're serious? Completely. I pulled out my phone and played the recording. James listened to the entire thing, his face getting harder with each word. Robert, this is serious. You need to go to the police. I will. But first, I need to change my will. I want Victoria to get exactly $1. And I want to leave her a letter explaining why. We can do that. What about the rest of your estate? Split it. Half to charity, half to my niece Emma. She's 23, just graduated college, actually cares about people instead of money. What about your business? I'm selling it. I've had offers before. I'll take the best one, liquidate everything, and make sure Victoria can't touch a penny. James pulled out a legal pad. Let's draft this now. And Robert, you need to be careful. If they're discussing your death. I know. I'm going to the police after we finish here. And I'm filing for divorce. We spent 3 hours drafting a new will. Every detail perfect, every loophole closed. The key provision. To my wife Victoria, I leave the sum of $1, having made other provisions for her welfare during our marriage. Then I wrote the letter. Victoria, if you're reading this, I'm dead and you're about to find out that 12 years of pretending to love me was a waste of your time. I heard you and your boyfriend planning my life insurance payout. I heard you discussing whether to wait for natural causes or help them along. So I'm leaving you exactly what your loyalty was worth, $1. The rest goes to people who actually deserve it. Enjoy your new life with whatever his name was. I hope it was worth it. Robert. I sealed the letter in an envelope marked to be opened with the will. Then I went to the police. Detective Sarah Chun listened to the recording 3 times. Mr. Patterson, this is concerning. They're discussing causing your death. Can you arrest them? Not yet. Discussing something isn't the same as attempting it. But we can open an investigation. I'd recommend you take precautions. I'm filing for divorce today. I've changed my will. What else can I do? Document everything. If your wife does anything suspicious, changes your medication, tampers with your car, anything, contact us immediately. We'll be monitoring the situation. I left the police station and drove straight to my doctor. Dr. Williams, I need you to do something unusual. I need copies of all my medical records. And I need you to note in my file that if anything happens to me, if I die unexpectedly, Someone should question it. He frowned. Robert, what's going on? I told him. Showed him the recording. My God. Robert, you need to be careful. I am. Can you help me? I'll note everything in your file. And I'm ordering a full workup. Blood tests, cardiac screening, everything. So we have a baseline. If something happens, we'll know it wasn't natural. I spent the rest of the week setting everything in motion. Filed for divorce. Listed my business for sale. Moved money into accounts Victoria couldn't access. She didn't know yet. I was still coming home, still sleeping in our bed, still playing the role of oblivious husband. But I was documenting everything. Then on Saturday morning, Victoria made me breakfast. She never made breakfast. In 12 years of marriage, maybe 5 times total. What's the occasion? I asked. No occasion. Just felt like doing something nice for my husband. She set the plate in front of me. Scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. I looked at it. Thought about the conversation I'd overheard. Thank you. This looks great. I picked up my fork. Moved the eggs around. Then set the fork down. Actually, I'm not that hungry. I had a big dinner last night. I'll save it for later. Her smile faltered. You sure? I made it special. I'm sure. Thank you, though. I left the plate on the table and went to get dressed. When I came back, the plate was gone. Scraped into the garbage. I waited until Victoria went upstairs. Then I retrieved the food from the trash, put it in a plastic bag, and drove it to the police station. Detective Chun, my wife, made me breakfast for the first time in months. Right after I heard her discussing my death with her boyfriend. I didn't eat it. I'd like it tested. She took the bag. We'll run it through the lab. It'll take a few days. 5 days later, she called me at work. Mr. Patterson, the lab results came back. Your eggs were laced with oleander. Enough to cause cardiac arrest in someone your size. If you'd eaten that breakfast, you'd be dead. My hands went cold. She tried to poison me. Yes. We're getting a warrant for her arrest now. Do you know where she is? At home, probably. Or with her boyfriend. We'll pick them both up. Mr. Patterson, you need to stay somewhere else tonight. Don't go home until we've secured the scene. I checked into a hotel, sat in a generic room, and tried to process that my wife had tried to kill me. An hour later, Detective Chin called back. We've arrested Victoria and her boyfriend, Michael Barnes. Found oleander plants in your garage. Searched his apartment and found internet searches about untraceable poisons. Text messages between them planning it. What happens now? They'll be charged with attempted murder and conspiracy. The DA is taking this very seriously. Mr. Patterson, you're going to need to testify. I will. Whatever it takes. The trial was 8 months later. I sat in the courtroom and listened to prosecutors lay out the case. The recording of Victoria and Michael discussing my death. The oleander in the eggs. The plants in my garage. Text messages. Did it work? He didn't need it. We need to try again. Internet searches on Michael's computer. How to cause a heart attack. Untraceable poisons. How to avoid murder investigation. Victoria's attorney tried to claim she was coerced. That Michael manipulated her. That she never would have done it on her own. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty on all counts. Victoria got 20 years. Michael got 25. The divorce was finalized while she was awaiting trial. She got nothing. The prenup I'd insisted on 12 years ago held up perfectly. I sold my business for $9 million. Put half in a trust for my niece Emma. Donated the other half to medical research and food banks. Kept enough to live comfortably, but not extravagantly. Bought a smaller house. Started consulting part-time. The will stayed exactly as I'd written it. $1 to Victoria, with the letter explaining why. I didn't expect to die anytime soon. Dr. Williams had given me a clean bill of health. But it gave me satisfaction knowing that if anything did happen, Victoria would open that wolf from prison and realize she'd gotten exactly what she deserved. A year after the trial, I met Catherine at a charity fundraiser. She ran a nonprofit for foster children. We talked for 3 hours about everything except money. She asked me out for coffee, then dinner, then more dinners. I should tell you about my past, I said on our 5th date. Only if you want to. My ex-wife tried to poison me for my money. She's in prison now. Catherine was quiet for a moment. That's terrible. I'm sorry you went through that. I'm not. It taught me what matters. It's not money. It's finding someone who'd stay even if the money disappeared. Good lesson. For what it's worth, I have no idea how much money you have and I don't care. I know. That's why I'm here. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony, close friends only. Emma was my best man. Well, best person. I'm so glad you're happy. Uncle Robert, she said at the reception. You deserve this. Thank you for not trying to kill me for my inheritance. She laughed. The bar is pretty low, but I'm glad I cleared it. 3 years after Victoria's conviction, I got a letter from her. Prison stationery, careful handwriting. Robert, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't expect you to, but I wanted you to know that I understand now what I did. How horrible it was. I was blinded by greed and by Michael's manipulation. I threw away a good marriage and a good man for money I never even got. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but it's all I have. Victoria. I read it once, then put in a drawer. Catherine found it later. Are you going to respond? No. She had 12 years to be honest with me. She chose lies and poison instead. Do you hate her? No. I feel nothing. She's not part of my life anymore. Good answer. 5 years after the trial, Emma graduated from medical school. I attended her ceremony with Catherine. You know the trust fund you set up for me? Emma said afterward. I'm using it to open a clinic in an underserved area. Paying it forward. That's exactly what it's for. Thank you for believing in me. And for not dying. Again, pretty low bar, but you're welcome. 10 years after I changed my will, I rewrote it again. Left everything to Catherine and Emma. Split evenly. Charities got a substantial portion. My life insurance went to Catherine. The letter to Victoria stayed in place, just in case. But I was healthy. Happy. Living a life I actually enjoyed instead of one I was building to impress people who didn't matter. 15 years after Victoria's arrest, she was up for parole. Detective Chen called me. They're having a hearing. You can submit a statement if you want. What would you recommend? Honestly, I think she's served enough time. She's been a model prisoner, completed education programs, helps other inmates. She's not the same person who tried to kill you. Then I won't oppose parole. But I don't want contact. Understood. Victoria was released 6 months later. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she moved across the country, changed her name, started working at a flower shop. The irony of her working with plants after using oleander to poison me wasn't lost on anyone. I never saw her again. Never wanted to. 20 years after I changed my will, Catherine and I were having dinner with Emma and her wife Rachel. Uncle Robert, can I ask you something? Emma said, anything. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't come home early that day? If you hadn't heard them? Sometimes, I'd probably be dead. Or I'd have lived years not knowing my wife wanted me gone. What made you suspicious enough to record it? I wasn't suspicious at first. I just heard voices and wondered who was there. But once I heard what they were saying, instinct kicked in. I made my money by trusting my gut about people. That day, my gut said document everything. Best decision you ever made. Second best, I said, looking at Catherine. Best was meeting her. Catherine squeezed my hand. Smooth. It's true, though. Victoria wanted me for my money. You wanted me for my terrible jokes and my ability to make reservations at restaurants. I wanted you because you're kind. The reservations thing is just a bonus. 25 years after the poisoning attempt, I turned 81. Had a small party with Catherine, Emma, Rachel, and their kids. That night, I pulled out the will one more time. Read the letter I'd written to Victoria decades ago. What are you doing? Catherine asked. Just remembering. Still leaving her $1. Always. It's the principle. Do you think she knows about it? Probably not. And honestly, I hope I don't die for a long time, so she never finds out. Living well is better revenge than a letter she'll read when I'm gone. Then let's focus on living well. Deal. I put the will back in the safe. Next to it was the recording from that day, 25 years ago. I kept it, not as evidence anymore, but as a reminder. A reminder that greed destroys people. That money reveals character. That the best revenge is building a life so good that the people who betrayed you become irrelevant. Victoria had one of my millions. Instead, she got 2 decades in prison and a future working minimum wage under an assumed name. I got Catherine. I got Emma and her family. I got to give millions to charity. I got to live long enough to see the people I love thrive. The math wasn't even close. I turned off the light in my office and went back to the party. My wife was laughing with Emma. My great nieces were running around the yard. The grill was smoking with steaks. This was wealth, not the number in my bank account. This. And Victoria's $1 was waiting in my will, a final reminder that she'd traded everything real for something that didn't matter. I hoped she'd learned that lesson. But either way, I learned mine. Money doesn't make you rich. People do. And I was the richest man I knew. 30 years after Victoria tried to poison me, I died peacefully in my sleep at 86. Catherine was holding my hand. Emma was there. The great nieces I'd watched grow up. I'd lived exactly the life I wanted. The will was read a week later. Emma called me that night. Well, she tried to. I was dead. So she visited my grave instead. Uncle Robert, the lawyer, read your will today. Everything split like you said. But Victoria's section, she was there. She's 72 now. Looks old and tired. When they read that she was getting $1 in the letter, everyone went silent. The lawyer handed her the envelope. She opened it right there. Read the letter you wrote 30 years ago. Just stood there staring at it. Then she started crying. Not sad crying. Like realization crying. Like understanding crying. She looked at me and said, "He gave away millions to charity. To you. To people who actually cared about him. And I got $1 because that's what I earned." She asked if she could keep the letter. The lawyer said yes. She folded it up, put it in her purse, and left. I don't know what she did with it. But Uncle Robert, I think she finally understood. 30 years later, she understood. Emma put flowers on my grave. Thank you for the trust fund. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for showing me that wealth is what you give, not what you keep. And thank you for the letter. Because even after death, you taught someone a lesson they needed to learn. Rest well, Uncle Robert. You earned it. The $1 sat in an envelope, along with the letter. 30 years of planning for a moment I wouldn't be alive to see. But the message was delivered. And that was worth more than any amount of money. Victoria had wanted millions. She got truth instead. And sometimes, that's the most valuable thing you can leave behind.